Okay, so that's kind of how that is controlled based on how much water we have. Now, let's say, so we've got our water, we used it, we took our carbon dioxide in from our stomata, and we got rid of our oxygen, we made some glucose. We need to get our glucose down and through our cells. So let's actually, this is a picture of the leaf again, and this is the phloem, okay? These are phloem cells. These are actually mesophyll cells that are making the sugar. So these are our photosynthetic cells. This is a bundle sheath cell, a helper cell. It'll help in a C4 plant, for example. This is a phloem cell. This is a companion cell. And then this is a sieve tube member, and hopefully you remember those as the two types of phloem cells. Okay, and what's going to happen is, as sugar, we'll do it in red, is being made, we're going to transport those via our symplast route through and all the way into our sieve tube. Now, the tricky part comes is if it goes through the apoplast route. What's going to happen is, it's cool, it goes around, no big deal, and in. The key is here, when it has to get pumped in, has to use proton pump to get sugar in. That's on our apoplast route. Okay, so it just requires a little bit of energy required to pump the sugar in. But way more, the sugar will give way more energy than it requires to pump in. So it's not a huge deal. Okay, so the last part is just how do we get the sugar from up at the top down to the bottom. Now this is a little bit of a schematic here. Okay, this side actually is, I'm going to draw it in blue. This is our xylem. Okay, and so this is actually water flowing up. Okay, H2O going up. And up here at the top, we actually have our source, what we call our source cell. That's the cell that is providing the source of glucose. Okay, and so glucose enters the sieve tube member, as we saw on the previous page. And what happens is the water potential in that cell, in this cell, the sieve tube member, because here's my glucose going through. So the water potential becomes more negative. And so what's going to happen? Water enters. Okay, and so water is going to come from two sources. One source is it's going to come from the xylem, and it also might come out of the cell. Now at this point, there's going to be a high up here at the top. We could write this here. High hydrostatic pressure. And down here, there is a low hydrostatic pressure way down here at the bottom. Because this is my sink cell, where it's trying to get to, down the sink, okay? Hydrostatic pressure. So just like anything we've ever learned, where's things going to want to go? From where there's high pressure up at the top to, so this is up in the leaves, to where there's low pressure down in the roots, okay? And so what's going to happen in my sink cell is the sink cell actually will, when it gets there, it's going to remove the glucose from the sieve tube member, okay? And then what happens is the water wants to actually exit the phloem at that point. So it's either going to go back into the xylem or into the sink. Usually it goes back into the xylem, like it's pulled back and goes back around and helps that pressure flow. Okay, so water will enter the xylem because there's less solutes in here now than there are in here. Okay, so here goes water. Water in. Okay, and so that's how phloem works. Basically, the sugar pulls, and we get this pressure building from the sugar flow. Okay, and so that's kind of transport in plants in a nutshell.